Started. Um, we are we are being snowed in as we speak. If you can see how white it is outside, see how white it is outside. That's not sunlight. That's snow. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. Talk about cinema therapy. Okay, in the first film homework exercise, therapists should give thorough instructions. Um, a lot of times your clients are not going to be they're not going to want to be there, for one thing. They're not going to want to talk to you, but this is a good way to communicate with them through movies. So, oh, this is Lady Gaga. Okay, I was thinking say Adam Driver. Okay, well, anyway, House of Gucci. It is important to establish the therapeutic context with a brief rationale for using films in therapy, a description of why a particular film has been selected, and assurance that the exercise will be processed in therapy. In other words, you're doing this for a reason. Normalize the exercise. Reassure clients that homework has been used with other clients and that results have been positive. Of course, each client is going to require a different type of movie potentially. What will work on one client may not work on another, and that is part of getting to know your client. And clients are different. Sometimes what you think is a good match won't be a good match because they like action films or they like rom-coms or whatever. I just watched a movie, Risk Cutters, a love story. Um, really strange movie because it's so gray, but it has a point. Provide a rationale for why a particular film is being assigned, what issues the film will address, why the film is being assigned now. Describe the characters that a client should note. What are some of the similarities between the client and the character? Try to make it as not as positive as possible. Sometimes it's difficult because you want them to see what would happen to them if they acted this way for an extended length of time. Discuss completely any scenes that might be problematic for the client, such as language, sexual situations, affairs, violence. Choose an alternate film if a client's concerns are not resolved. Assure the client that the exercise will be thoroughly processed in a debriefing session. Keep notes. Stop the film when you have an insight. This is something that you might suggest to your clients. Think about how the film applies to your situation. Replay important scenes. If you're watching with a partner, pause to discuss important aspects or agree to discuss them at the end. Note characters you particularly like as well as ones that you dislike. Make a note about why. At the close of the film, write down the main points you want to discuss in therapy. Clients are faced with a creative problem when given a film assignment by a therapist. They realize that the therapist believes that the film is related to their problem. Although the therapist has made a suggestion about how they might connect to the film, the exact nature of that connection is up to them. So the assignment is a puzzle they will attempt to solve. Our working assumption is that clients will extract from the viewing that which is most important to them. Films are multifaceted and draw from clients those aspects that are most salient at a particular time. We are curious about what connections of all the possible connections clients might make with a film. What will stand out to them? As therapists, we have our ideas about what conclusions clients will come to. but clients almost always surprise us with their unique solutions to the puzzle. Sometimes clients will have interpretations that are in sharp contrast to the therapist's ideas. Differences in interpretation between therapist and client can also lead to productive insights. The power of cinema therapy is in the interplay between the therapist and the client. And it may be that you start counseling people, and it just doesn't fit for the first year, the first second year, and then all of a sudden you'll have a client, and this is the only way that you can actually communicate with that client is through cinema therapy. Yeah, this is just a tool. It's just a suggestion. Remedies for bad connections: ask why, what was the client looking for, and what did they see? Find out if some element in the film violated important values that they have. The girl with the dragon tattoo, she gets anally raped about halfway through the film, if I remember correctly. Ask how the story was different from their own experience. Explore the dissimilarities thoroughly. Consider denial as a possibility. If a client is strongly averse to a character the therapist had suggested as a possible match, does the client's dislike arise from a mistaken identity or from too close an identity? That's always a possibility. Look for basic differences in perception. If the film appeared useful to the therapist but the client didn't agree, review the client's main concerns as well as therapy objectives. Perhaps this disagreement points to more fundamental ones. Have the clients suggest another film. Because the film I assigned doesn't describe your situation, let's talk about one you've seen that might. Cinema therapy builds on previous assignments addressing concerns as they arise in ongoing therapy. Clients who have a good experience with an initial film will be eager to receive new film assignments that correspond specifically to emerging issues. Therapists should assign follow-up films that target through a character or a theme an issue that has become central in therapy. Clients in cinema therapy will begin looking for films that address their problems and will share their discoveries with their therapist. Because of the ownership involved, these films can have more of an impact than films the therapist suggested. When therapists conduct follow-up discussions with clients, they begin with open-ended questions that reflect their curiosity about the client's impression of the film. What did you find useful? How did the film strike them? Any value with someone in your situation? Even clients who dislike a film may add a note of promise. It was hard to take because it hit too close to home. Most film assignments should be followed by therapeutic conversation for maximum effect. The therapeutic rule that therapists give credit for positive changes to clients also applies to cinema therapy. If clients watch films and their lives improve, film discussion is elective. Should be effective. A character therapists believe will appeal to clients is not always the character with whom the client identifies. The therapist should start follow-up conversations by focusing on the character with whom a client has identified, which may represent the self-concept. Although the therapist takes the client's response as a starting point, the therapist may find it productive to create a dialogue between other film characters and the client. Which character did you most identify with in Toy Story? Oh. In what ways was that character similar to or different from you? What attributes would you like to take from that character? What aspects of that character would you avoid? Are there other characters in the film who present positive options? In what ways? Who were the antagonists and what obstacles did they present? How are they similar to the people or situations in your own world? How did the protagonist succeed in overcoming the challenge? How can you use a similar strategy to overcome your own challenges? Therapists must also pay attention to characters clients dislike and ask whether these characters have counterparts in the real world. We question a client about how an antagonistic character represents an obstacle and how that obstacle was overcome. Have the client list adjectives that describe how characters solve the central problem. Have the client apply those adjectives to their own situation. How would those qualities help a client reach therapy goals? Determine if the client has a significant concern with how a film character solved the central problem. If so, what is the concern? Find ways to modify the solution so that it works for the client. Okay, this is from research by Jay Hamilton in 2023. Movies on the Couch, the movie model of film therapy, counseling, and psychotherapy research. Okay, research on film therapy shows a range of benefits. It reduces parent-adolescent conflict in school-based counseling and facilitates catharsis, increases empathy, eases dialogue, and promotes interpersonal learning. In group therapy, it reduces anxiety and makes participation more appealing. It helps young people diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder identify positive strengths and build resilience. That's what Hamilton discovered. Cognitive behavioral counseling-based film therapy helps improve communication skills. Talking about movie characters helps psychiatric patients express thoughts and feelings. Discussing superhero movies enables young people diagnosed with schizophrenia to reconceptualize their stories and envisage new possibilities. The movie model supports watching and discussing movies as part of the therapeutic process. It integrates elements of mindfulness, experiential and narrative therapy, but can be adaptive to suit most counseling approaches. Clients can engage with the movie both emotionally and intellectually. Mindful engagement, the model begins with mindful engagement through awareness of thought and feelings while viewing. Somatic sensations should be noted associated with emotional affect states, both while viewing and discussing the film in a therapeutic setting. Observe reactions to the movie with curiosity and not judgment. Visceral responses while viewing or discussing the movie should be noted. If necessary, the client should practice safe place grounding, counting, and breathing techniques. Voicing, naming, and acknowledging feelings that were experienced while watching the movie can begin the therapeutic process. Articulating experiences and safety can play a key role in recovering from post-traumatic stress. Identifying personal relevance, the therapist must help the client facilitate sense-making of links between the movie and their life experiences. Clients can restructure and transform their own life scripts through identification with movie characters and themes. Exploring new possibilities, therapists can facilitate helping the client reauthor their personal stories, help them develop coping strategies, and draw learning from the movie to take forward. The therapist can suggest imagining a sequel and how they will look in a better place. So there you go. Cinema therapy cinema therapy can work, and it can work if you are very selective of the movies that you use, if they are specific to the problem that that the individual, the client is suffering from. And since we are a video consuming culture now, this may be about the only way that you can uh, communicate with your client. And that is it. So next week we'll start talking about social media.